Hey everyone, John here, and I have been wanting to talk and squawk about the ending, the epilogue, to Xenoblade Chronicles X for a few weeks now, but we've been busy with Switch 2 stuff. But now that's laying low, I think it's time that we ramble on about what the heck happened and whether I even liked it. So X came out around 10 years ago, a decade ago, on the Wii U. And those who played it back then will know that it was left on a bunch of cliffhangers. Lynn talks about what she's wondering whether there are more survivors who managed to escape Earth. Elmer figures out that the lifehold is just flooded and trashed and yet everyone's still alive. And in the post-credits scene, Lao is alive on a beach. And they very much lean into this with the trailer. All the X trailers show that beach scene. It's like we're finally continuing this story. There are more loose threads, there's a few minor things, a few big things, but only some of them are really addressed in the epilogue. It feels like part of this story was always intended, and then a big other part was just kind of thrown in to more fit it into the rest of the Xenoblade series. So let me give you the bullet points about what exactly happens for those who have both played it to better understand what happened, and also for those who just want to be spoiled. So let's start at the end, kind of, because it's told in pieces, so let's start at the end. The main villain of Chapter 13 is Void, and Void is a Samarian. They are an older race, and both Elmer's race and the humans, X-World's humans, are descendants of Samarians. And Void is a very clever Samarian. He's a scientist, and he discovers a conduit. This world's version of the conduit. It's not the exact same one that Klaus has, but a parallel world version of that. And he studies the conduit, and ends up making skulls with the Ares. The Ares is a very special skull, and he's put in a bunch of little orbs, which allow it to do many magical things, like travel through worlds. And there is this course-correcting alien race called the Ghosts. Now, the Ghosts first appeared in the special edition of Xenoblade X in the art book. Now, they are in the opening cutscene of the game, but they're never really addressed by name or of any other importance to the story. But if we flick through and find a ghost, here they are. Battleship Class Ghost. So these make very quick appearances in the opening cutscene. They are the other faction, it's the Ganglions and the Ghosts, and Earth gets caught in the middle of that. So these have been there since the beginning of the story, but they're never elaborated on. But yes, the Ghosts are course-correcting alien races. They come in and put a stop to any shenanigans going down. And they don't like the Ares. It was made using the conduit, they don't like that, and so they seek to destroy the Samarians. So they come down, cause a lot of problems. And in retaliation, the Samarians destroy the Ares, and they take Void, and they imprison his consciousness between the rifts of time. So not only are they basically killing him, they're imprisoning him for making such a mistake that killed their races. Now, Void stays there for a very long time, until in some other world there is some kind of fracture. And they don't say exactly what caused this, but I can imagine it's Klaus dying in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, or it could be Klaus just creating the entire world, but some kind of rupture happens from another world, most likely to do with Klaus, and it allows Void to escape. And Void then takes the body of the Vita, not the PlayStation Vita, but the big mech Vita from the main game, the big alien mech thing. So Void and the Vita are one, that's his body, his consciousness is within the Vita itself. And using his new powers, he creates the Ganglion, the main alien race of Xenoblade Chronicles X. Luxar actually refers to Void in a few ways in the game. He calls him the Great One. And that was another loose thread that was never actually addressed. We never figured out who the Great One was. It's Void. It's the Vita itself. Now, even though the Ares itself was destroyed, Elmer's people are descendants, and they were able to make the Ares again themselves, I guess using logs that were left behind. And Void figures that out and comes to Elmer's planet to destroy them. He wishes to know death, and he wants to claim the Ares back for himself. But when that happens, the Ghosts follow him to Elmer's home planet. So the Ganglion are murdering all of Elmer's friends and family and just species, while the Ghosts come in to also kill everyone else and kill the Ganglions and try and stop Void. And Elmer takes the Ares and takes it to Earth. Her planet is doomed, and so she wants to share the knowledge and resources with Earth to try and save them. So using the Ares, humans can then develop scale tech and be far more prepared for the battle that's coming for them. And they give the Ares to a pilot named Al. And Al has been a mystery for many years too. He's been the unknown pilot, the hero of the Ares. And he's just kind of some guy. He's a guy who likes to come in and say a little catchphrase. It's very similar to the "let's eat Tatsu" joke. I think it probably works better in Japanese, but he just kind of comes along and says, "How you doing?" And then someone else replies, "Terrible." It's not funny. But yeah, all the humans get scales, and Al gets the most powerful scale, being the Ares. And then when the battle comes to them, inevitably, the Ganglion win, and Earth is blown up. But what about Al? We never see Al in the Ares in the main story. What happens? Well, Al slips in to the rift, the multiverse rift. And he sees Shulk, he sees Rex, he sees Noah, he sees all these different universes, and he's stuck there for a while. But he's also gathering all this data. The Ares is collecting all this data about all these different multiverses. But he is stuck in there while the core story of X is happening. And while he doesn't really seem to travel to many different places, the Ares is trying to get him back to his fellow people. He does take a stopover, though, in the afterlife, because I guess you can get to the afterlife through the multiverse, where he meets Lao. And this was like the biggest loose thread that was meant to be concluded in X, and it just never was. Lao, we thought he was alive. This is the afterlife. There's not really much. This feels like the thing that they couldn't quite pivot away from, but they had no use for it in the story. And so you see Lao for maybe 2 minutes, and they talk about how Lao has given up, and Al hasn't. Al and Lao. And that's it, really. And then he fades away, all Xenoblade Chronicles 3 style. And I guess becomes part of the subconscious in the whole multiversal beings. But yeah, Lao's dead. There was really no cliffhanger there. I don't know why Al was wearing a hood either, because he never wears this hood anywhere else. That was clearly meant to be some other character. But we got to give Al a hood for this scene. That was weird, man. I don't know why that happened. So what about Void? Why is Void not really in the main story of Xenoblade Chronicles X? Well, it seems after the battle with Earth, Void crashes into Mira, just like how the humans crash into Mira, and the Vita, the body of Void, loses Void's consciousness for a while. And so Laxar starts piloting the Vita instead, trying to live up to the Great One's name, being Void. And Void only comes back again into the Vita's consciousness when the Ares makes its way back into Mira, when it escapes the multiversal rift. And that is when Chapter 13 really starts taking place. The Ares is back, everyone sees Al again, but so is the Vita and Void, you've got to take him down. But because Void and the Ares are here, the ghosts are here too, and all these big, DMAT, black hole-looking things are starting to swallow Mira, just like how they swallowed Elma's home planet. So there's actually quite a lot of backstory in Chapter 13. We get a lot more about Elma's world and the motivations of the Ganglion. They're not just hunting down humans because they want to, they're hunting down humans because, well, they're the last traces of Samar's descendants, and they want to get rid of any sort of threat of scale technology and being able to make the Ares. And I think a lot of this was always meant to be in either an X sequel or X DLC. Probably not the multiverse stuff, but at least all the backstory about Elma and the Ganglion and Void. I think that was always the point. There were so many loose threads that were pointing towards that stuff. So it's nice to have that connection. However, one big loose thread, which is the cutscene right before the post-credits scene, is when, right at the end of the game, you discover the Lifehold and it's destroyed. And Elma says, like, it's this planet. It's something about this planet. And that's never addressed. Like, Mira is swallowed by these black holes, and it eventually gets destroyed. So it's not about this planet. There's a few weird things. Planet Mira also translates all the alien races, so everyone can understand what is being said. But once Mira is destroyed, you can still understand the Manon and all the other aliens. So I don't think that was Mira. So there's things that don't really make sense there. There's a lot of other stuff. There's many like little small plot threads, but clearly they moved on to another story, and so it feels a bit unsatisfying to have other parts unresolved, especially when it's so fresh in your mind because you just played the game. But that's just the way it is. In Chapter 13, though, you spend quite a lot of time on Mira still. You might be on the impression that most of it takes place in that new area they showed, but that new area encompasses a very small part of Chapter 13. It's mostly about losing Mira. It's about some people being okay, dying with Mira. One person wants to preserve the wildlife and the animal life. So there's a bit more about the morals of whether you can just let this planet die. Inevitably, you do let it die, but some people are okay to go along with Mira because it's their new home now. So how do they survive Mira being destroyed? Well, because the Ares and Owl can travel through the multiverse, they just plan to attach themselves to the White Whale 2, and use it to power a big space jump carrying all the humans to a brand new world. And that's kind of where the plot goes. So if you spent the last 10 years being like, how does this bit end? How does this bit end? How does this bit end? You get a small conclusion to some of it, but for the most part, we're just jumping out of Mira. We're going to a brand new world now. And so they successfully manage to jump through the rift, but Void stops them midway, and after a boss battle, he scatters everyone into the new area. And this new area is just kind of a bunch of floating platforms, and it's just you to begin with, you and Elmer. And you've got to go back around and find your teammates. You don't have to find all of them, but as long as you've got a party together, you're fine. So you find your Skells, you find Lynn, you find Tatsu, and you just go around and find whoever else you want until you're ready to take on Void, who's in the center. And you can also go around and get these big spears which weaken Void, and then it's time to battle him. And when I first entered this battle, I didn't realize how unprepared I was. This is a point of no return as well. And so I kept trying and trying and trying, but this is a timed battle. If you take too long, Void will run away, and he wins. And I don't think I could have done it. You can grind in this area, but many materials that you need are not here. There's only a few enemies. And the whole online portion isn't here either. You can't just go to the terminal and try and get resources from there. And so what I had to do was actually revert back to an earlier save. It was still in Chapter 13, but I lost a few hours. And then I went and got the Ares 90, so the one of the most powerful mechs in the game. And maybe it was too powerful, because it killed the final boss in one hit. So those were my two struggles. I was either too weak to do anything, or too powerful to enjoy the fight. But that was it. Void is down, he gets destroyed, he knows death, and suddenly everybody is able to run away from the ghosts into a whole new dimension, away from anyone. So Void is destroyed, the ghosts are left in the rift between time, and you've jumped somewhere else to a brand new planet. Do you know what planet it is? No, we don't. Is this the planet where the other Xenoblade games take place? We literally do not know. It's just a brand new planet. Hey buddos, this is Editing John, and I shot this video a few days ago, and in that time, I've come to the realization that at the end of Future Redeemed, there's a ship in the background, right? It could be the X ship. It doesn't have that big halo going around it, but it could be the angle of the planet you can't quite see. I don't know. Keep talking though, pre-recorded John. But they have escaped into the main continuity. X is canon, and I have many different opinions on this. I think the story itself isn't bad. It's nice to have a conclusion, because X never really had an ending. And all the characters now have a pretty satisfying one. I think Owl wasn't a great character. He didn't really have much to him other than that annoying catchphrase. They built up this new area a lot in the trailers, and it's really short-lived. You can do it in under an hour. The whole epilogue, you can probably do it in around 5 hours. I took a lot longer, because I went back and grinded a bunch, but there isn't that much there. There's a lot of things happening in a pretty short time. And it definitely feels like Xenoblade Chronicles X2 was meant to happen, or at least a really big DLC for the Wii U game. And then instead they went on to do 2 and 3. And then when they got the chance to port X, they're like, okay, let's just finally tell that story we wanted to tell. But because it was so long ago, maybe that wasn't the story they wanted to tell anymore. So while parts of it made it through, like we got the ghosts from the art book in the intro, we got the Ares Prime, we got the mysterious hero, all that stuff made it through. But many other parts clearly didn't. Like, I think Lao was meant to have far more importance than just being dead. And he appears again as a ghost to cheer them on for like 2 seconds, but that's it. So it's satisfying in a way that X has closure. It's unsatisfying in a way that this clearly wasn't the closure it was meant to have. But X is canon now, so we cannot argue about that anymore, okay? Okay? He can travel through the multiverse. Which, it would make a cool Warriors game, but I don't know where it's going to take the rest of the story for Xenoblade. But I enjoyed it, though. I think the things I enjoy most about Xenoblade Chronicles X on the Switch, it's all the little things to the main game. It's being able to track where ingredients are. It's being able to see the UI. It's being able to know how to do an overdrive because it never actually teaches you. It's all these little things that make X a better game. The epilogue is just icing on top, but I think it could have been a lot more. I think it really should have been a full-on game. There's too much in here to really cram into a chapter, and it ends up missing out on a lot of what could have been. But still, I thought it was fun. I enjoyed it, and Monolith Soft cannot stop developing their lore. We got another... I wasn't expecting another conduit here. We've had the conduit in X already, like the life hold is shaped like one, so clearly there was some tangibility there, but it was because Void had it, and I guess the life hold was a descendant of that, so it makes sense. A lot of it makes sense, but then you think about other stuff, like how they can talk to aliens, and it doesn't make sense. So, I don't know. I'm rambling at this point, but what did you think about Chapter 13? Was it satisfying to you? Was it confusing to you? Or did you just want more? Let me know. And thank you so much for watching to this ramble, everybody. We will catch you next time. Bye-bye.